The hum of the airport terminal buzzed around me like a swarm of bees. My suitcase, its edges scuffed from years of travel, sat at my feet, the handle cool under my palm. The air carried the sharp scent of jet fuel and overpriced sandwiches from a nearby food court. A distorted voice crackled over the intercom, announcing a delayed flight to Denver. I glanced at my watch. 8:43 a.m. My son, Ethan, should have been here by now, waving tickets for our family trip to the Bahamas. My fingers drummed against my phone, the screen dark. Where was he? I shifted, my hip aching, a reminder of my 65 years. The crowd pulsed around me, a harried mother corralling two kids, a man in a suit muttering into his phone, a group of college students snapping selfies. I scanned their faces, searching for Ethan's sharp cheekbones, his easy gait. Nothing. My gut tightened, but I brushed it off. Maybe he was caught in traffic. Or perhaps Sophia, his wife, had held him up, fussing over her hair or packing last-minute outfits. My phone vibrated sharp against my thigh. Ethan's name lit the screen. Relief washed over me as I pressed it to my ear. "Hey, son, where are you? I'm by the ticket counters." A pause, too heavy, then Ethan's voice, flat and distant. "Dad, we're already on the plane. You're not coming." The words hit like a slap. The terminal's noise dulled, narrowing to the phone's cold press against my ear. "What?" My voice cracked, raw. "What do you mean I'm not coming?" My grip tightened on the suitcase, its leather creaking. Another pause, then Sophia's voice, soft and cutting, slipped through. "Finally, a trip without the old guy." A laugh followed, light but venomous, slicing through me. My hands shook, the phone nearly slipping. I opened my mouth, but Ethan cut me off. "Look, Dad, it's better this way. You just hold us back. We'll talk when we're home." The line went dead. I stood frozen, the phone still pressed to my ear, its blank screen mocking me. The terminal roared back to life announcements, footsteps, laughter, but it felt distant, like I was sinking underwater. My chest burned, rage and shock twisting together. They were on the plane I'd paid for, the vacation I'd planned, picturing turquoise waves and Ethan's rare grin, and they'd discarded me like an old receipt. Sophia's words echoed, "Without the old guy." I forced my legs to move, dragging the suitcase. Its wheels whined against the polished floor. Faces blurred as I passed the food court, the smell of grease turning my stomach. I headed for the exit, my hand fumbling in my jacket for my keys. Their cold metal grounded me, unlike Ethan's empty promises. Outside, Seattle-Tacoma International Airport's chill bit through my coat. A row of taxis waited at the curb, their engines idling. I raised a hand and one pulled up, the driver a stocky woman with a braid hopping out to grab my bag. "Tough day?" she asked, tossing it into the trunk. I didn't answer, just slid into the back seat. The door thudded shut, sealing me in with the faint scent of mint air freshener. My hands trembled, knuckles pale as I clenched them. Sophia's laugh looped in my head, each note stoking my anger. They thought they could humiliate me, cast me aside. They were wrong. The driver climbed in, glancing at me in the rearview mirror. Her name tag read Tina. "You okay? Where to?" I stared out the window, the airport fading behind us. My reflection flickered in the glass, grey hair, deep lines, eyes harder than I'd ever seen. They'd regret this. "Need a destination," Tina said, her tone gentle but curious. "Home," I said, my voice low and firm. "Take me home." The taxi hummed along the highway, rain smearing the windows. Seattle's skyline blurred in the distance, a grey shadow against the March sky. I sat in the back, hands folded, the keys in my pocket pressing into my leg. Tina's radio played a soft blues tune, barely audible over the rain's patter and the wiper's rhythmic squeak. The air smelled of damp leather and faint perfume clinging to the seats. "You sure you're okay?" Tina's voice broke through, warm but careful. Her eyes, framed by crow's feet, met mine in the mirror. "Fine," I muttered, sharper than intended. I didn't want to talk, but Tina wasn't one to let silence settle. "Airports are chaos this time of year," she said, chuckling. "Dropping off, picking up. Makes me miss my girls. They're grown, moved to Portland and Boise. You got family at home?" The word family stung. I thought of Ethan's cold tone, Sophia's mocking laugh. My fingers tightened around the keys, their edges biting my palm. "Something like that," I said, staring out the window. Tina didn't push, but her question stirred memories I wanted to bury. Ethan at 18, beaming as I handed him the keys to his first car, bought with my overtime pay. The pride in his eyes, promising to make me proud. Or the day I paid for his wedding, watching Sophia glide down the aisle in a gown that cost more than my monthly pension. She'd barely nodded at me, her smile thin as she whispered to Ethan about the outdated venue. My house, the one they lived in rent-free, was outdated too, according to her. I'd overheard her last month, her voice sharp as she stood in my kitchen sipping my tea. I shifted, the seat creaking. The rain thickened, drumming the roof. I thought of everything I'd given them: college tuition, car repairs, the deposit for their honeymoon. For what? So they could leave me stranded, laughing like I was a weight they'd finally dropped. "You ever feel like you gave too much?" The words slipped out, raw. Tina glanced back, her brow creasing. "To family." "All the time. Gave my youngest my savings for her first apartment. She blew it on a trip to Vegas, didn't even call to say thanks." She shook her head, her tone light despite the sting. "But you give 'cause you love 'em. Doesn't always come back the way you want." I nodded, my throat tight. Love. I'd loved Ethan fiercely, even as he grew distant, his calls shorter, his visits rare. I'd told myself it was just life marriage, work, Sophia. But now I saw it. Every sacrifice, every dollar had been a chain they'd used to bind me, keeping me useful until they didn't need me. The taxi slowed, turning into my neighborhood. The houses were modest, their lawns neat but worn. The familiarity felt hollow. I leaned against the window, the glass cool against my temple. Sophia's voice echoed, "Without the old guy." Beneath the hurt, something hard stirred, like the keys in my hand. Tina pulled into my driveway, the tires crunching on wet gravel. My house loomed ahead, a two-story craftsman with faded green siding, the porch sagging slightly. My life's work, and they thought they could take it. "Home sweet home," Tina said, turning to me. "That'll be 32. I handed her a 40 bill, waving off the change. "Keep it." I stepped out, the rain soaking my coat, and grabbed my suitcase. Tina leaned out her window. "Take care, all right? Family stuff. It's rough, but it passes." I gave a curt nod, not trusting my voice. She drove off, her taillights fading into the mist. I turned to the house, my house. The keys gleamed in my hand, slick with rain. My eyes narrowed, a quiet resolve settling in. They'd see. I'd make sure of it. The front door groaned as I pushed it open, the familiar creak echoing in the quiet house. I dropped my suitcase by the entry, its thud softened by the worn rug. The air smelled of stale tea and the faint pine of the cleaner I'd used last week. My house, every inch earned through decades of long hours and scrimping. Now it felt like a graveyard of promises. I shuffled to the kitchen, my boots scuffing the hardwood. The March chill clung to my coat, but I didn't hang it up. I flicked on the kettle, its hum filling the silence. While it warmed, I sank into the armchair by the window, the springs creaking. A shelf held photos, Ethan as a boy, gap-toothed and grinning. Our camping trip when he was 14. His wedding day, where I'd stood proud, ignoring Sophia's tight smile. My chest tightened. How had it come to this? Ethan's voice echoed, "You're not coming." Sophia's laugh followed, sharp as glass. My fingers twitched, wanting to break something, but I gripped the armrests, the wood smooth under my palms. I'd given them everything: college, cars, a home, and they'd repaid me with a phone call and a smirk. I stood, pacing the kitchen, my steps heavy. The kettle whistled, but I ignored it, my eyes catching the keys on the counter. They glinted under the light. This was my house, my life. I wasn't the burden they thought. I pulled out my phone, scrolling to the bank's number. My thumb hovered, but I hesitated. Not yet. I needed to plan, to be deliberate. I wasn't Ethan, acting on impulse, or Sophia, scheming behind fake smiles. Whatever I did, it would be fair. Final. They'd feel it. I wandered to the living room, my hand brushing the couch where Ethan used to lounge, asking for cash for some new gadget. "Dad, you don't get it," he'd say, rolling his eyes when I suggested saving. Sophia was worse, her complaints cutting like thorns. "This house is so old," she'd said once, sipping wine I'd bought. "You should update it." As if I hadn't poured my soul into these walls. I stopped by the mantel, a photo catching my eye. Ethan and me at his graduation. I'd worked doubles to pay his tuition, never complaining. He'd hugged me that day, promising to make me proud. A lie, I saw now. My throat burned, but I swallowed it. No tears. Not for them. I thought of their voices at the airport, the ease with which they'd cut me out. They thought I was weak, a doormat who'd keep giving. They were wrong. The man who'd stood in that terminal, trembling, was gone. Someone else stood here now, someone who wouldn't let this pass. I crossed to the window, the curtains rough as I pushed them aside, the front yard stretched out, the grass patchy. Beyond it, the neighborhood was still, the rain easing. I could see Margaret's house next door, her porch light glowing. She'd understand, maybe. She'd lost her sister to greed, faced her own betrayals. But this was my fight. My reflection stared back, eyes sharp. I thought of the bank, the accounts I'd set up for Ethan, the mortgage I'd paid alone. They lived here because of me, and they thought they could discard me. No, they'd learn what it meant to cross me. I stepped back, my hand brushing the keys. Their weight was a promise. I wouldn't let them take this. "Enough," I whispered, my voice cutting the silence. I turned, my gaze settling on the yard. "You'll see." The computer's hum filled the study, its light casting shadows across the desk. A cold tea mug sat beside me, the scent mingling with the musty smell of old files. Outside, the rain had stopped, leaving a soft patter against the window. The house was too quiet, pressing against me. I held my phone, the bank's number glowing. My thumb hovered, Sophia's laugh echoing. Without the old guy, the memory pushed me forward. They'd taken enough dinners, clothes, that Bahamas trip I'd funded. No more. I pressed call, the line clicked, and a smooth male voice answered. "Cascade Trust Bank, this is Mark. How can I help?" "This is James Whitaker," I said, steadying my voice. "I need to change my accounts." "Now." "Of course, Mr. Whitaker," Mark said, professional. "Can you verify your details?" I gave the numbers, my eyes on the keys. They gleamed, a reminder of the house I'd built, the life I'd earned. Mark typed, his keyboard clicking. "What changes would you like?" "I want to revoke access for my son, Ethan Whitaker, and his wife, Sophia. They're authorized users on my secondary card. That stops today." My words were hard, unyielding. The chair creaked as I leaned forward, my fist tightening. A pause. "I see. Permanent removal or a temporary hold?" "Permanent," I said, my voice like iron. "They don't touch my money again." Mark's tone softened slightly. "Understood. Can you provide the card's last 4 digits?" I gave them, my pulse quickening. A small part of me wanted to stop, to pretend Ethan was still my boy. But the airport call had shattered that. I wasn't their ATM. I was their father, and they'd betrayed me. "Done," Mark said after a moment. "Ethan and Sophia Whitaker are removed. The change is effective immediately. They can't use the card. Need a confirmation email?" "Yes," I said, exhaling. "Thank you. Anything else?" "No, that's all." I ended the call, the phone heavy. I sat, staring at the desk. The tea was cold, a film on its surface. I'd done it. The first step. Relief and dread churned in me. What would they do when they found out? Rage? Plead? I almost wanted to hear it. I stood, my knees stiff, and crossed to the window. The yard was wet, Margaret's porch light glowing through the mist. My gaze fell to the keys. I picked them up, their weight grounding me. This house was mine. Let them feel what it's like to lose something. The phone buzzed, a text from Ethan. My heart skipped, but I didn't open it. A slow smile spread, sharp and new. Let them squirm. I slipped the phone into my pocket and turned to the window, the keys in my hand. The world was still, too still. I sat in the study, the phone warm from the bank call, picturing the Bahamas. Ethan and Sophia, smug, lounging in a beachside cafe with linen napkins and overpriced cocktails. The air would smell of coconut and sea salt. Waves whispering through open shutters. They'd be laughing, toasting their triumph over me, unaware of the blow I'd struck. I imagined the moment it hit. Ethan in a linen shirt, Sophia tapping her manicured nails on a glass. The waiter, young and polite, slides their card back. "I'm sorry, sir, it's declined." Ethan's smile would falter. "Run it again." He'd lean forward, confident. The waiter would nod, but the second try would fail. Ethan's face would redden, his fingers tapping. Sophia would hiss, "What did you do, Ethan?" "It's not me," he'd snap, grabbing his phone. Sophia's eyes would narrow, her napkin crumpled. Then it would click. "It's him," she'd say, venomous. "Your father." Back in the study, I leaned back, the chair creaking. The phone buzzed again, another message from Ethan. I ignored it. I'd heard their voicemails, each angrier. I played them now, Ethan's voice sharp. "Dad, what's this?" "The card's not working." "We're stuck. Fix it." Then Sophia, icy. "This is low, James, blocking our card. You're ruining our trip. You're pathetic." I let the messages play, their words sliding off me. Pathetic. That's what they thought. But they were the ones scrambling, their vacation crumbling, because they'd underestimated me. I pictured them in their hotel, the ocean view mocking them. Ethan pacing, phone in hand, Sophia on the bed, plotting. "You idiot," she'd say. "You said he'd never do this." "I didn't think he'd go this far," Ethan would retort. "He's never pushed back." "Well, he has now," Sophia would snap, "unless you fix this." I could see her scheming. "Call Derek, he owes us. He can talk to your dad." Ethan would hesitate, then nod. "Fine, but this isn't over." The phone buzzed, pulling me back. Another voicemail. I played it. Ethan's voice, low and threatening. "You think you're smart, Dad. Cutting us off. You'll regret this." I set the phone down, my pulse steady. Let them threaten. They had no power. My eyes drifted to the legal papers on the desk, clipped neatly, waiting. The keys sat beside them, a quiet promise. They could rage. I was just starting. The lawyer's office smelled of leather and old books, the kind of place where decisions felt permanent. I sat across from Ms. Carter, a sharp-eyed woman with silver hair, her pen scratching notes. My folder of documents lay open, its contents stark. Outside, Seattle's downtown hummed faintly traffic. Voices, life moving on. Inside, it was just us, the clock ticking. "James," Carter said, adjusting her glasses. "You're sure about this? Removing Ethan from the will entirely?" I nodded, hands folded. "Sure." My voice was steady, but my chest tightened. Ethan's face at 15, laughing by a campfire, flashed in my mind. Then his voice cold. "You're not coming." I pushed it away. "He's made his choice." Carter's brow lifted. "Family decisions are heavy. If you reconsider, it's more work. You're certain?" I hesitated, a flicker of doubt. Ethan's last birthday, I'd called, left a voicemail. He texted back hours later. "Busy, Dad." Later. No call came. Sophia's words stung too. They didn't deserve me. "I'm certain," I said, meeting her gaze. "Let's do it." She nodded, jotting notes. "I'll draft the new will. You'll sign and we'll need a witness. Anything else? Beneficiaries?" I thought of the house, the keys on my desk. "The house stays mine. No beneficiaries yet." "I'll decide later." "Fair enough." She slid a form across. "I'll have it ready tomorrow." I stood, shaking her hand, the folder under my arm. As I reached the door, a familiar voice stopped me. "James?" Margaret Reed, my neighbor, stood in the hall, her auburn hair tied back, a paper coffee cup in hand. Her eyes were warm but curious. "Didn't expect you here." "Margaret," I said, forcing a smile, "just business." Her gaze flicked to the folder. "Looks serious. Got time for coffee?" "There's a spot nearby. My treat." I hesitated, but her warmth pulled me in. "Sure," I said, following her out. The lawyer's door clicked shut. The cafe was cozy, smelling of espresso and vanilla. We sat by a window, the clink of cups and soft chatter around us. Margaret sipped her coffee, studying me. "You look like a man with a mission. What's with the lawyer?" I chuckled hollow. It's messy. Try me, she said, leaning in. My brother tried to cheat me out of my dad's land after he passed. Family can stab you deep. Her bluntness eased me. I sipped my coffee, its bitterness grounding. Ethan and Sophia, they crossed me. I'm making sure it doesn't happen again. Margaret's eyes narrowed, not with judgment. Good. They think they can take forever. You've got to stand firm. She paused. Need help? I'm no lawyer, but I'm stubborn and I've got time. I smiled, genuine. I'll let you know. We talked longer, her stories pulling me out of my head. But walking home, the folder heavy, my thoughts darkened. Margaret was an ally, but this was my fight. My house came into view, its sagging porch accusing. Then I froze. A red SUV sat in my driveway. Derek's car, Ethan's friend. I slowed, my grip tightening on the folder. What was he doing here? The living room was dim, lit by a floor lamp casting shadows. The air smelled of cedar and the faint lavender of a throw blanket. I sat in my armchair, a photo album open. Ethan at 8, grinning with a soccer trophy. The memory ached, but I pushed it down. A rumble outside snapped me alert. Headlights swept the windows, tires crunching. I stood, the album closing, and peered out. Derek's SUV idled, its engine growling. My pulse quickened, but I stayed calm. They'd sent him. The doorbell rang, sharp. I crossed the room, my shoes scuffing, and opened the door. Derek stood there, lean and polished, his jacket gleaming, his smile was slick. Evening, James, can I come in? I didn't budge, hand on the frame. What do you want? His smile tightened. Just a chat about Ethan and Sophia. You've got them in a jam. He tilted his head, like we were buddies. They did that themselves, I said flat. Say it and go. Derek chuckled, forced. The card thing. It's trouble. They're stuck in the Bahamas. Fix it. My jaw clenched. My money, my choice. They don't get to demand. His smile vanished, eyes hardening. Don't make this ugly, James. Ethan's your son. He deserves your help. I remembered Derek's loan years ago. $300 for a sure thing he never repaid. My fingers tightened. Deserves, I said sharp. Like you deserve that money I lent you. Tell Ethan he's on his own. Derek's face darkened. You're making a mistake, old man. Ethan won't let this go. You'll see. He jabbed a finger at me. Tell him to try me, I said, stepping forward. Now get off my porch. He held my gaze, then snorted, retreating. His car door slammed, and he sped off. I shut the door, the lock clicking. My heart pounded, but a calm settled. They thought they could scare me. Wrong. I crossed to the window, watching Derek's taillights fade. The keys on the table gleamed. This was my home, and I'd fight for it. The park was still that morning, the air sharp with wet grass and blooming dogwoods. Petals drifted across the path, catching in my coat. My hands were in my pockets, the new will and Derek's visit heavy. I slowed by a bench, its wood worn. A memory hit. Ethan, 9, racing ahead here, his kite tugging skyward. Keep up, Dad, he'd laughed. My chest ached. Was I too harsh? Cutting him off, rewriting the will. I sat, the cold seeping through. The park was empty, just a cyclist in the distance. I rubbed my hands, shaking the doubt. Ethan wasn't that boy. He was the man who'd left me, who'd let Sophia mock me. But his laugh lingered, cutting. James, you look like you're carrying a storm. Margaret's voice broke through. She stood nearby, her dog, a wiry mutt named Rusty, sniffing the grass. Her eyes were kind but sharp. I managed a half smile. Just thinking. She sat, Rusty flopping at her feet. You've got that wrestling look. What's eating you? I hesitated, then spilled it. Derek, the will, my doubts. I cut him out, Margaret. My son. What if I'm wrong? She leaned back, hands clasped. Kids grow up, James. Not always into who we hope. My brother sold our dad's tools for drug money, smiled to my face. Her voice was firm. You gave Ethan everything. What's he giving you? I thought of the airport, Sophia's laugh, Ethan's cold voice. Nothing, I said, bitter. Not for years. Exactly. Her tone sharpened. You're not the bad guy. Don't let guilt trick you. Her words steadied me. Thanks, I said low. I needed that. She grinned, standing. Walk with me. Rusty'll eat my shoes if we sit. We headed to my house, Rusty trotting ahead. In the kitchen I brewed coffee, the scent filling the air. Margaret sat, her mug steaming. What's next? She asked. I poured coffee, eyeing the will on the counter. I keep going. They don't win. She raised her mug, a glint in her eye. That's the spirit. I smiled, the folder pulsing with purpose. Outside, the wind rattled the windows. I was ready. The drill's whine pierced the hall, sharp as the smell of fresh paint and metal. The locksmith, a burly man named Carl, worked on the front door. I stood nearby, arms crossed, watching him install a new lock. Each screw tightened a boundary. Ethan and Sophia wouldn't walk in again. Almost done, Carl said, his toolbox clanging. Want the back door done? Already handled, I said, firm. Make this one solid. He nodded. Big change, huh? Kicking someone out? I gave a tight smile. He didn't need details. The new keys in my pocket pressed against me, a reminder. My house, my rules. I headed upstairs, my steps heavy. Ethan and Sophia's bedroom door was open, a mess of their carelessness. Clothes on the floor, a wine glass on the dresser. I grabbed boxes and started packing. Sophia's dresses, each a jab at my wallet, went in first, their satin cool. Ethan's gadgets followed his earbuds, a gift from me. Every item was my generosity, their ingratitude. I worked steadily, the act reclaiming me. I paused at a photo. Ethan and Sophia at a resort, smug. I tossed it in, unblinking, let them keep their memories, not my home. Carl called up. Done. Test the keys. Be down, I shouted, taping a box. I carried it to the yard, stacking it with others. The grass was damp, the air cool. I slipped a note under a flap. You don't live here. Clear this by tomorrow. Final. Margaret stepped out, her scarf fluttering. Damn, James, she said, eyeing the boxes. You mean business? Had to, I said, dusting my hands. They'll flip, she warned. You ready? They've had their chances, I said, low. I'm done waiting. She nodded, almost smiling. Keep your eyes open. They won't go quiet. She was right. Ethan and Sophia wouldn't fade. But I was ready. Carl handed me the keys, their shine new. Locks are tight. Anything else? That's it, I said, pocketing them. He drove off, his van rumbling. Margaret and I stood, the boxes looming. You did good, she said, soft. This is yours now. I nodded, throat tight. The keys weighed heavy, a promise and a burden. A plane's hum cut the sky, my grip tightening. They were back. The living room was warm, the scent of coffee curling from my mug. The lamp glowed, softening the rug's worn edges. Outside, the May evening settled, cool and heavy. I sat, the keys in my pocket, when headlights flashed, tires crunching. I stood, moving to the window. Ethan and Sophia stumbled from a taxi, their suitcases thudding. Ethan's jacket was wrinkled, Sophia clutching her purse. They looked worn, diminished. I watched, breath steady. Ethan fumbled his keys, trying the lock. It didn't budge. He tried again, shoulders tensing. What the hell? He muttered. Sophia stepped up, sharp. Do it right, Ethan. I am, he snapped, twisting harder. The door held. He pounded, his voice rising. Dad, open the door. I didn't move. My pulse quickened. But this was it. The locks, the boxes, the note. They'd feel their choices. Sophia's laugh echoed in my head. Let them see what it meant. Ethan hammered again. Dad, I know you're there. Stop this and let us in. Sophia grabbed his arm. Yell louder, why don't you? The neighbors are watching. Then what? He hissed. He locked us out. Our house. His house, she shot back, venomous. You said he'd never do this. You said he was weak. Ethan's face twisted. Sophia's eyes caught the boxes in the yard. What's that? She said, colder. They moved, suitcases abandoned. I leaned closer, fingers brushing the curtain. Ethan tore open a box, Sophia's dresses spilling. He froze, digging through another, his earbuds, shoes. He packed our stuff, he said, voice cracking. Sophia snatched the note, trembling as she read. You don't live here, she read aloud, rising. Clear this by tomorrow. She tore it, pieces falling. That bastard. Ethan spun, hammering the door. You think this is funny, Dad? Throwing us out? You're cruel. His voice broke. Sophia knocked, rhythmic. James, open this now. You can't do this. I stepped back, the curtain falling. Their voices dulled like a storm outside. My chest was tight, but this was justice. They'd taken my trust, my home. Now they had nothing. The phone buzzed, Ethan's name flashing. I stared, another buzz following. I didn't pick up. The keys grounded me. I turned, setting the phone down, its light fading. The kitchen was dark, lit by a bulb over the sink. The air smelled of peppermint tea, the kettle warm. Outside, rain streaked the windows, blurring the streetlights. I stood by the window watching Ethan and Sophia in the yard. Their suitcases sagged, the boxes collapsing. Ethan's shoulders slumped, Sophia pacing, phone to her ear, her voice sharp. My phone buzzed, a voicemail. I played it. Ethan's voice raw. Dad, this is insane. You can't lock us out. Where do we go? Open the door, please. I'm sorry. Then Sophia tight. James, we screwed up. Let us in. We'll fix this. Her voice wavered, but it didn't sway me. Empty promises. I pictured them in a motel, the neon sign flickering, the carpet musty. Ethan on the bed, face in hands, Sophia pacing, heels clicking. You said he wouldn't do this, she'd hiss. You said he was weak. I didn't think he'd go this far, Ethan would snap. He never fought back. Well, he has, she'd retort. Your airport stunt was stupid. Leave him, you said. He'd get over it. Don't blame me, he'd growl. You pushed, whining about his house, his money. Sophia's eyes would flash. We're not done. We'll go back, beg if we must. He'll crack. I blinked, back in the kitchen. Their panic was proof of their weakness. They'd built their lives on me. Now they floundered. I felt no pity, just calm. I poured tea, the steam rising, and sat. A note from Margaret lay under some bills. Coffee tomorrow, my treat. I smiled, the tension easing. Tomorrow I'd share this victory. The rain tapped, a soft rhythm. I sipped my tea, the note in hand. The yard was empty, their boxes ruined. They'd lost. I was here. The cafe was warm, smelling of coffee and scones. Sunlight streamed through, glinting off tables. I sat with Margaret, my mug warm. She leaned forward, curious. So how's it feel to own your life again? I chuckled, light. Right. Quiet but right. She grinned, stirring her latte. Damn right. You showed 'em, James. I sipped, the coffee grounding. The cafe hummed, couples chatting, a barista calling orders. Normal. They called last night, I said, begging to come back, said they'd change. Margaret's brow arched. You buy it? Nope, I said, smiling. Same old lies. I'm done. Good, she said, firm. You protected yourself. Let them deal. I nodded, her words solid. Ethan's last voicemail, soft, almost broken. Dad, give us a chance. I'd deleted it. Sophia's was calculated, hollow. They weren't sorry for me, just for losing my money. The clarity freed me. We talked more, Margaret planning her garden, her warmth pulling me in. Come help, she said, eyes twinkling. It's good for you. Maybe I will, I said, meaning it. I could breathe now, choose my path. Back home, the kitchen smelled of apples and spice. I baked a cobbler, the dough soft, the apples sticky. I hadn't baked in years. I remembered Ethan's sneaking tastes as a kid. The memory didn't hurt. It was just there. Margaret stepped in, a bundle of lavender in hand. For your table, she said, setting it in a jar. Brightens things. It does, I said, sliding the cobbler into the oven. The kitchen glowed, sunlight catching the lavender. Dinner soon? She asked. You, me, some neighbors. New chapter, right? I'd like that, I said, wiping my hands. She traced the jar's edge. You're going to be fine, James. Better. I nodded, the oven humming, the cobbler baking. I thought of Ethan and Sophia scrambling out there. I didn't wish them ill, just distance. This was mine again. The sunlight shifted, gilding the kitchen. I stood, the lavender bright, and let the moment hold me. Whatever came, I was ready.